We have some great candidates, and sometimes I'm going a little outside of the box with some, because we have candidates that are not strong. They're rhinos, and they're not strong. They're Mitch McConnell type guys, and he's a disaster. So we need tougher people. We need people that are going to be able to win for our country. Not win for me, by the way, win for our country. And we have some great candidates.
That was the 45th president of the U.S., Donald Trump, with me at Mar-a-Lago back in December on this program, talking about the 2022 midterm elections and his endorsements, among them football legend and businessman Herschel Walker, who's running for a Senate seat in Georgia. His race is already being called one of the most important congressional contests of the year. But according to a new poll by Emerson College and The Hill, he is not only leading his GOP primary field by 44%, he is also ahead of incumbent Democrat Senator Raphael Warnock by 4%. Herschel Walker joins me right now. Good morning, Herschel. Thanks very much for being here. What is your plan to grow that lead and win in November?
Well, my plan is to get out and meet the people. My plan is that I got to go out and let the people know what I stand for. I think what they've done and what the guy I'm running against, you know, he's voted almost 98% with Biden. And these policies that they have do not work for Georgia. They do not work for the United States of America. And I think that's what's sad. I think the saddest thing right now is we're even discussing some of the matters we're discussing. We're discussing what's the definition of a woman. You know, we're discussing things that we shouldn't be discussing, like why we're number 2. Right now, we're not energy independent. We have our enemies negotiating deals for us. That is ridiculous. We are a great country. We're great people. And I'm one of the people that's more qualified than anyone to run. You know, right now, I'm one person that people continue to talk about football, but they forget about that I'm somebody that helped to create jobs. You know, I created a business, a very, very successful business. You know, I've went out and I know about the supply chain. I know about all the things that's going on in this country right now that I can help to solve. You know, I've been in, over 400-something bases trying to remove the stigma of mental health. I'm not afraid to talk about these sensitive subjects that we need to address, that need to be addressed right now. I'm the one to win this race. I think everybody in Georgia knows it. That's the reason my poll numbers are going up. I want them to keep going up because I'm the one that can fight for this country. I'm the one that can fight for Georgia, and I'm going to win that seat.
All right. So, Herschel, Raphael Warnock won this seat in that runoff race against Kelly Loeffler. As you know, back in 2022, early in the year. Now, this seat is one of the most contested, the top 10 lists of the most likely to flip in November. Tell us what changed in the last 14 months since Warnock won that seat.
You know, what has changed is where do you start? You know, where do you start at? What has changed is, you know, we've got an administration that they're not leaders. They're almost, they're waiting to, they're more reactive rather than proactive. And what I mean by that is, you know, one of the first things they did, and I think people need to know this, is they decided that they were going to give up our energy. By him going out, giving up our energy, now we're not energy independent anymore, which started the whole downfall. Right now, gas prices is going out of the roof. You know, right now you see there's no food on the shelf. And I think people need to know that. And they're blaming everyone else except themselves. You know, I think they got to remember that the song Michael Jackson said, "The man in the mirror." You got to look at yourself and see what's going on. You know, this country is this is one of the most environmentally drilling countries in the world, but yet we're walking on all the resources we have underneath our feet, and we won't say, hey, guys, we got to come out of this. We cannot continue to do this, and we need people in Washington that's going to be leaders and not people that's going to be followers or people that's upset, have sour grapes, that they're not going to do what's right for the people of Georgia. They're not going to do what's right for the people of the United States, where Herschel Walker will. I'm not afraid to get in there and fight for what I think is right. You know, I'm a Christian. I told people I'm a warrior of God. I'm going to get in there and do the right thing.
Yeah, I want to ask you about your upbringing. We'll take a break. When we come back, you have already won a Heisman Trophy. But last week, you received another once-in-a-lifetime honor at the U.S. Supreme Court. We will talk about that and the advice that Justice Clarence Thomas gave you at the ceremony. I am talking with football legend Herschel Walker, gearing up for the November election. Stay with us. Welcome back, and I am back with football legend Herschel Walker running for the Senate seat in Georgia. Herschel, I want to get your thoughts on President Obama being back at the White House last week. We have this video, and it was really a sad moment to look at where everybody's swarming over Obama, and Joe Biden is sort of walking around wandering, not sure where to go. What was your reaction to Obama at the White House?
Well, I think it showed us where leadership is at. You know, he walked around like he was a lost puppy, and everyone went to Obama. And I think that's what was so sad. You have supposed to be the leader, the strongest leader in the free world, and he's walking around like he is totally lost in a room, whereas everyone now is gravitating to Obama. They forgot, even the vice president, she's over there with Obama. So it just shows you where the leadership is at. And that's why we need strong leaders right now to get to Washington and help straighten this out. Because we're not this country that we want to depend on whether you're a Democrat or you're a Republican. We're Americans, that we need to let people know that we're American, that we're a strong country.
And you have led the American dream. You were honored last week. Talk to us about receiving this prestigious Horatio Alger Award given to individuals who come from humble beginnings and are able to rise to success. This is the only non-legal event that takes place at the Supreme Court. You also had the opportunity to talk with Justice Clarence Thomas. Congratulations.
Hey, thank you so much. And I tell you, I was very humble to be nominated and also to be selected as a Horatio Alger Award winner, and to be among some incredible people that have come from humble beginnings, like you said, and has achieved so much in the business world. But something that is so important, they just haven't achieved. They give back. And that's one of the main objectives of this award is giving back. They've given over $230 million to scholarship kids, and they've given over 35,000 scholarships. That's incredible. And you have students there. That was one thing I thought was important, to have students there that has overcame, has some terrible things that happen in their lives, but yet they continue to have a high GPA. That is incredible. And this is the type of things that I think means so much to me. This is the Heisman Trophy. It's bigger than the Heisman Trophy. That's why I was so humbled to be a part of the people and be a part of this organization. And I'm proud. I wish my dad was here to see it. And I know my mom was proud of me. My wife was proud of me. And I tell you what, this only made me go out and fight even harder for this country, because I owe so much to the state of Georgia. I owe so much to the people. And this only encouraged me to go out and fight even harder.
I bet, Herschel, that's just wonderful. But the more popular you become, the more attacks are coming your way. Last week, the New York Times said that you were the worst candidate that Trump endorsed. They are attacking you for your academic achievements as well. Would you like to respond?
Well, you know what's so funny? I did graduate high school as one of the top students in my class, so they can continue to attack me all they want to do, but I don't care. And when they're attacking me, that meaning that they're jealous of me. Right now, the people in Georgia know I'm the top one for this job. They know I'm the one to win this job. Even my opponent on the Republican side know that I'm the one to win this job. But I want to come May 2nd, which is early voting. I want the people of Georgia to let everyone know that Herschel Walker is the one to win this seat. Get out and vote for Herschel Walker, because I'm the one to win it.
Okay. Herschel, thank you. Herschel, thank you so much. Herschel Walker joining us. We're watching that for sure. We'll talk to you soon, Herschel Walker. That'll do it for us. I'll see you tomorrow on Fox Business. Have a good Sunday, everybody.